My name is Malik Carter, age 26. For most of my life, my family revolved around the quiet dignity of my late grandfather, Leonard Carter, a decorated veteran who had earned 2 Valor Medals and a Distinguished Honor Cross. When he passed away in the spring, our family lost its center. My aunt, Regina, age 55, was his oldest child and took immediate control of his belongings with an authority that no one challenged at first. Regina had a sharp tongue and an even sharper sense of self-importance. She always believed that the world had failed to appreciate her brilliance, and she often acted like Grandpa Leonard was an inconvenience rather than a hero. Her son, my cousin Jalen, age 17, grew up under her strict plans and expectations. She wanted him to study finance at an elite program and eventually run her consulting business, which was barely functional, but still her pride. At first, I tried to give Regina grace during her grief, but her behavior became impossible to ignore. She dismissed every conversation about Grandpa's service with a cold wave of her hand. When the honor guard presented our family with a ceremonial flag, she folded it once, examined it, and tossed it on a table like it was a piece of scrap fabric. A week later, she burned that same flag in her backyard fire pit. When I confronted her, she said that the flag did not match her interior design, and that dead soldiers are a chapter the world should forget. The next blow felt even worse. Regina emptied Grandpa's storage chest and threw away most of his service memorabilia. His uniform, his field maps, and several framed photos were tossed into a donation bin behind a thrift store. Thankfully, my Uncle Damien and I acted quickly. We salvaged what we could, including his medals, a journal of battlefield notes, and a worn patch from his final unit. Regina called us sentimental fools. She claimed that we were stuck in a past that did not matter to anyone intelligent. Her words struck Jalen more deeply than I expected. He had always been quiet, overshadowed by Regina's loud personality, but in the weeks after Grandpa's funeral, he began asking questions. He came over often to read the journal and study the medals. There was something awakening inside him, something Regina had tried to smother for years. Little did any of us know, Jalen was about to make a decision that would uncover every hidden truth in our family and force Regina to face the legacy she tried so hard to erase. Jalen began visiting my apartment every weekend after that first long conversation about our grandfather. He read each page of Leonard Carter's journal with a focus I had never seen in him. The journal described not only combat but leadership, fear, courage, and an unwavering sense of responsibility toward others. It painted a picture of a man who had carried burdens in silence so his family would not have to feel their weight. One Saturday evening, after reading a passage about how Grandpa had saved 3 members of his squad from an ambush, Jalen closed the journal and sat quietly for a long time. Finally, he said, "Malik, I did not know he was like this. He was a real person with real strength. Nobody ever told me." I nodded, understanding the unspoken message. Regina had hidden that part of him. She wanted control, not stories about courage that might inspire independence. Over the next month, I watched Jalen change. He stood straighter. He spoke more confidently. He asked questions about discipline, training, and service. Uncle Damien even took both of us to a local military museum where one of Grandpa's units was featured. Jalen ran his fingers lightly over the display, as if searching for proof of a connection he had been denied his entire life. The shift frightened Regina. She questioned why he spent time with us and accused me of trying to influence him. I told her calmly that he deserved to know the truth about his heritage. She responded by banning him from visiting me, but Jalen came anyway. He was tired of living under her expectations. Then, on his 18th birthday, Jalen made his decision. Without telling Regina, he went to the enlistment office and joined the service. He requested placement in the same division Grandpa had served in. He said it felt like continuing a legacy, not escaping one. When he told me and Uncle Damien, we supported him fully. He had finally chosen something for himself. But we all knew that Regina would not accept it peacefully. 2 days later, we gathered in the living room of Jalen's childhood home. He stood in front of his mother wearing borrowed dress blues from Uncle Damien's old uniform, only for symbolic effect. He held his enlistment papers at his side. Regina entered the room with a dismissive sigh, unaware of what was coming. "Mom, I joined the service. I leave for training in 3 weeks," he said. Regina froze. Then her face twisted in disbelief. She accused us of manipulating him, of poisoning his mind with stories she claimed were exaggerated fantasies. Jalen did not waver. He showed her a picture he took earlier beside Grandpa's medals and said softly, "Somebody cares." Regina's expression cracked, but the moment of vulnerability vanished as quickly as it came. She ordered us all out of her house. None of us realized how far her control had already gone, nor how much she had hidden. But the truth was about to surface. Jalen shipped off to basic training without a single word from Regina. She refused to see him on departure day, and even ignored his final attempt to call before boarding the bus. It hurt him more than he admitted, but he pushed forward with determination. I wrote to him every week, and Uncle Damien sent care packages with photos, stories, and small pieces of home. 10 weeks later, Jalen returned for a short leave wearing his real dress uniform this time. He stood taller, stronger, and more confident than I had ever seen him. But his homecoming took a painful turn quickly. He walked up to his mother's front porch and tried to unlock the door. The key no longer fit. She had changed the locks. When he knocked, she refused to answer. A neighbor eventually approached, apologizing quietly as she explained that Regina had told half the neighborhood Jalen was unstable and not allowed inside. Jalen came to my apartment with his duffel bag still over his shoulder. He looked like someone trying not to break. I let him in, took the bag from his hand, and told him he could stay as long as he needed. After a long silence, he finally spoke. "I found something, Malik." He pulled a folder from his bag filled with papers he had recovered from his mother's home office before he left for training. What he discovered stunned us both. The prestigious scholarship Regina bragged about for years never existed. Instead, she had hidden multiple rejection letters from universities. Some applications had missing documents, others missed deadlines entirely. One school even stated they never received his supplemental materials. She had intercepted all of it. At the bottom of the folder was the most revealing document, an enrollment confirmation for the local community college, already signed. Jalen's name was printed neatly on the form, listing him as a full-time student living at home. Regina had crafted an entire false narrative. She intended to keep him under her control with no intention of letting him leave town, let alone the state. But it went deeper. Jalen had discovered letters that Grandma had written to him months earlier, congratulating him on graduating and urging him to follow his heart. They were never delivered. Regina had hidden every single one. Uncle Damien, hearing all this, arrived at my place that night. He told us quietly that he suspected Regina was hiding even more, especially concerning Grandma's situation. He believed Regina had isolated Grandma deliberately. That was the moment we realized this was not just controlling behavior. It was manipulation on a level none of us had imagined, and we had to uncover all of it. A week later, everything came to a head when Grandma called me herself. Her voice was steady, clear, and nothing like the confused image Regina had pushed on the family. She asked if I could visit, and she specifically requested that I bring Jalen and Uncle Damien. We went that same afternoon. Grandma greeted us with open arms, her eyes bright and aware. She explained that Regina had been limiting her communication, claiming it was for her safety. What Grandma showed us next confirmed every suspicion. She had a folder tucked away in a dresser, filled with documents Regina clearly hoped she would never see again. Inside was a copy of Grandpa's will. His wishes had been precise. Jalen was supposed to receive a collection of medals, personal journals, and a $40,000 education fund. The rest of the estate was dedicated to grandma care. Regina had withheld all of it. Even worse, bank statements showed a withdrawal of the full education fund 2 months after Grandpa's passing. That same month, Regina began renovating her home with new flooring, countertops, and luxury fixtures. The cost matched the missing $40,000 almost exactly. Grandma also showed us letters she had written to Jalen. She kept copies because she suspected something was wrong when she never received replies. She whispered, "Regina wanted me silent, but I am still here." By the time we left the facility, our course was set. Grandma insisted we confront Regina, and Uncle Damien agreed. We gathered documents, bank records, and the will. Then we arranged a meeting at Damien House that Regina reluctantly agreed to attend. When she arrived, she tried to mask her nervousness with her usual superiority, but once Grandma placed the will and proof of the missing money in front of her, Regina's facade cracked. She denied everything at first. Then she deflected. Then she blamed stress. But when Jalen pulled out the hidden letters and application documents, something inside her snapped. "Fine. Yes. I took it," she shouted, her voice shaking. "I did what I had to do. This family glorifies a man who forgot us. I will not lose my son the way I lost my father." Her confession stunned the room. Grandma sat upright, steady and calm, and said, "Your father served this country with honor. You chose deceit. That is your burden, not his." Regina broke down crying, claiming that the military had taken her father away and that she wanted to protect Jalen from the same fate. But her fear had twisted into control, and that control had turned into theft and isolation. When she learned we planned legal action, her strength evaporated. She signed away power of attorney. She signed an agreement to return every dollar. She relinquished any claim over family assets. And then she left the house quietly, without looking back. But the story was not over yet. In the months following the confrontation, our family began to heal in ways we could not have imagined earlier. Jalen returned to his base with a clearer mind and a lighter spirit. He no longer felt chained to expectations that were never his. With the education fund restored, he enrolled in evening classes on military history and leadership, subjects that connected him even more deeply to the grandfather he never truly knew. Grandma moved into Uncle Damien Guest House, a comfortable space we renovated so she could maintain her independence with family close by. She seemed to grow stronger with each passing week. Her confidence returned, her voice carried more authority, and she no longer lived under the shadow Regina had cast. Every Sunday we gathered for meals, stories, and laughter. The emptiness that once lingered in the family was slowly replaced with unity. One of the most meaningful changes came in the form of a tribute. With Grandpa's recovered medals and the journals we saved, Jalen and I created a small display for the local community center. We added a short biography, photos, and preserved letters. The display became a quiet but powerful reminder of his courage and service. Many visitors left notes saying how much the tribute moved them. Grandma visited often and would gently touch the glass case with a soft smile. Regina, meanwhile, disappeared from the center of our lives. She followed through on the repayment agreement, though it required selling many of her home upgrades. We later learned that she moved to another state to stay with distant relatives. She sent only one message during that time, a short letter addressed to Jalen. The letter contained no excuses, only a single sentence. "I am sorry that I tried to silence what mattered to you." Jalen folded the letter carefully and placed it behind Grandpa's journal. He said he was not ready to forgive yet, but he appreciated the effort. Grandma said forgiveness would come when the heart allowed, not before. 6 months after everything unfolded, our family held a small ceremony at Grandpa's gravesite. Jalen wore his dress uniform and stood at the head of the gathering. He spoke with calm strength about legacy, honor, and the hard truths that shaped our past year. Grandma held the newly folded ceremonial flag that replaced the one Regina destroyed. This time, she received it with full dignity. As we walked back to our cars afterward, Jalen paused beside me. He revealed a simple tattoo on his shoulder, Grandpa's service number and the year he enlisted. He said, "This is my reminder that the truth matters, even when some try to bury it." I nodded. The family had learned that painful truths can lead to healing, and that legacy is not held in medals or journals alone, but in the choices we make to honor those who came before us. And Jalen, once quiet and uncertain, had become the living proof of that truth.